There we go, nice and live. As per usual, I did do a little bit off stream. Mainly just a little bit of farming for some contribution. And then I reached a point where an event was going to happen. I was like, no. Can't go through this. I'll have to stop. So that's the first thing we're dealing with today. It's going to be the event that I didn't actually do anything to do with. Competition day. Anna's left early for the festival. Oh, no. We do not want to just fall asleep. That would be silly. I can't even remember what I was getting the contribution for. I think it was just the generic contribution for the overall advancement of the village. Because we had a bunch of texts that we had all the prereqs for, but then we just didn't have the village progression for it. Yes, it is a Stardew Valley-like, or I say Harvest Moon-like because I played Harvest Moon well before Stardew Valley appeared. But yes, it's Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon, Rune Factory, but Stone Age. Hence stream title. Hi Ash, welcome in. I know I've seen your name before, but I see it's a first time chat here. So I know you're from someone else's stream who I'm usually in. I'm gonna guess Sheepers. Or possibly Sentai. Chair, I don't know if you remember, but technically we already have that one child from like years ago. The one that I... Actually, do I still have the image of that? I don't think I do. I think I got rid of all those weird... mashups of the bees. From back in the day when I was a bee. We are unable to harvest the other Twitch tuber. Your name was Amaranth, wasn't it? I don't know. I don't keep up with the personalities. Also, I say give. Store all the foods. Pick up the beautiful fermented fish. And play a funny prank on the villagers by putting all of those fermented fish into the barrel. Okay, so fermented Gyrodust gives us 126 each, but fermented Stargaze is like 200 276 contribution each. So just from like fermenting 5 things, we're going to be getting like 1,000 contribution. Ignore the smell in the contribution barrel. It's nothing to do with me. Yes, join the festival. It really is funny that before I became VTuber, I had a B avatar like years ago, and then 2 of the other VTubers I know happen to have, one of them is primarily a B, and one of them has an extra B. So we have Sabella, who is just a B, and Sheepa, who has a B. But I suppose we have to say hello to everyone. I never met you before. You look like a nerd. I'm not even reading any of your contributions. I'm just assuming that just like every other game, talking to people on festival days gives bonus happiness points or something. I will join the games after I have spoken to everyone. Definitely talking to you because you are like one of the 2 people who I might romance in Stone Age lesbianism. Yes, we will participate in Bones. Right, it's actually starting to get close call now. Ah, we only got 12. But we set a new record. We gained a bear claw. Oh my god, Tehi, what are you? You're a beast. I know the first time I played this, I did actually get like 18 or 19. Oh, of course. Well, it's a Bethesda game. The engine is essentially the exact same. We found this out because I jokingly said to Sheepa when he was playing the other day, try doing the carry weight cheat because he was trying to loot everything. And so we opened the console, typed in the usual thing, and it worked. So they're using the exact same engine, or at least the exact same console codes. And so technically, if they're using the console codes are the same, chances are the engine's the same, and if the engine's the same, well, all of the nude mods from Skyrim probably... Well, yeah, it's just a new version of the creation engine. So it is essentially just you know, just port over the new stuff. Hey, Mono. I don't think I'm going to get 18 on this. Maybe. 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 We beat the bitches. High score. We are actually, now that I've got the rhythm of how to go about doing it. Ah, there we go. We beat her by 4. Screw you, Tetty. Yes, I'm gonna tell Ron. Ron, guess what? I beat the bitch for her. I have avenged you, Ron. Oh, a fishing competition. Oh, wonderful. I'm really glad that we've already got the better fishing technology thing unlocked. Yes, we will participate in the... We'll participate in the hit the log. If I remember right, if you get a perfect hit, it doesn't actually cost you any stamina. But the window for perfect hit is very, very slim. My God, Kroll. Yeah, we got the bear paws. The jump start is a random thing for the stream avatars thing. I haven't set much of it up yet. I just wanted the people on screen. I think it's just like you can gain some points that I think you can set it up so you can buy things in the sort of stream avatar shop, like certain avatars and stuff, if I set it up. But I honestly can't remember if I have set it up or not. I know Ezzy was trying to like do something with gear the other day. Oh, closer. Give one more try, and then we'll move on to the fishing game. It should be in the panels, because I have it set up in Twitch to show it as the panels. Like looking at the screen, it shows it right there in my actions. Let me have a quick. Quick check. I thought I'd set it up. Or at least it should have like the sidebar thing that pops up. If it's not as a panel. Now I've not got it down as a panel, but it should be set up as a widget. Or whatever the silly term is. But then again, I don't know if that's only shows up on desktop or not. Yeah, Ezzy was trying to do it all with console with chat commands. Because Ezzy is mad and somehow remembers all these weird chat commands. Yeah, I don't think we're beating Kroll. Yeah. Close, but not quite. We're at least second place. That's good enough. That is good enough. Right, you're both saying about catching fish. Where do I click to start the fish? Everyone else has an obvious place to start with. Yeah, the rope pull is like the last thing. So I'm not going for the rope pull. And just in case you wondered, this dude is romanceable. This guy is not. The fact that she just said, I knew you were good with bones. Yeah, I bet you've heard that. But all the ladies tell me. Do I have to... No, that's a cooking competition. Maybe. It's not a cooking competition. Yeah, I guess, you should be scared to go in the caves. Because there's 3 very, very, oh, fine, Jin. I won't go into the caves, even though I've managed. How did he get green hair? Well, I'll tell you how he got green hair. Plants. I guarantee you, there is a plant out there that will dye your hair green if you crunch it up and rub it in your hair. I've also... There's something as well I found out the other day. Oh, God, what was it called? I think it might have been, like, cowslip or something. One of the really common, like, weeds in the UK. Apparently, if a bird eats the root of this one weed plant, not weed as in smoky weed, but weed as in unwanted flower. But there's this like really common weed in the UK that if a bird eats the root, it turns the bird's bones red. I don't know who it was that figured out that specific one. That specific plant caused them to get red bones. But yeah, that is pretty mad. It's like just... If you ever grow some chickens, just get some of this, just root and chuck it in their food and then just go, oh yeah, don't worry. I know that it looks weird, but the chicken, the chicken drumsticks that we're eating, yeah, the bones are just red. I'm assuming it's just there's a specific chemical in there that for some reason binds with bird bone, but not other bone? Like, would our bones go red if we ate it? I mean, I hope you realise, Manna, that I'm going to be going with your team because Gelrod deserves to have a slap in the face. But yeah, it's like, if we ate these roots, like, is it just birds that it affects? The thing that I was reading that mentions about it says just birds. Yeah, we probably would need a lot more of it than birds, but this is I'm assuming it's not a temporary thing. I mean, it could be. I mean, we also have denser bone structure as well, not just bigger, so... It could well be that there's just something about bird skeletons that, cause it to happen. But you also can remember that we can eat a fuck lot more than birds can. Yo, Roger, going down. And do we dance? I'm sorry to everyone else who was on Gelrod's team, but Gelrod is a dick. Oh no 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 no! Hang on! No, I'm restarting that day. I'm redoing that day. I've just remembered something. Yeah, I was hoping that go back a few steps would actually, you know, take me, you know, give me an option of going back to a previous save, but it doesn't. So I'm just going to have to restart the day. Thankfully, it doesn't save until you sleep. But I just remember there was another game for us to play. Damn it. Now we're going to have to beat the bitch at bones again. No. I'm not going to... As long as we get more than 12 and we, you know... We get the port... Because I want the costume, damn it. I want the costume for winning. Because I think it's just bare clothes. We must min-max the event. Yes, we must. This is a once-a-year festival. I'm not waiting until next year to possibly not have the chance of getting the same costume. And you know what? I'm not even going to bother with watering the plants for today. I will, however, return to pranking. I say prank, it is just contribution, but it is funny to imagine that we are just doing this to make the box stinky by just chucking some fermented fish in there. Have the citronella too. And you know what? Just have a bunch of the stuff. I'm not going to feed you the food items. And you're not having my stone or copper. And you're definitely not having my gems. Those are being saved for a reason. I want my fishing charm, damn it. But now we get to go even faster by talking to people. Speedrun time. Ignore you. Gerald, you a dick. Hello, goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye. Hello, goodbye. Hello, goodbye. Hello, goodbye. Hello, goodbye. Hello, goodbye. This thing, I forgot this. The spear thing. Right, let's... Just want enough to get the good thing. Okay, I'm trying to speedrun this game. Stop giving me perfect hits. Hang on, I need to stupid auto mod. Damn it, auto mod. I was one off auto mod. You had to like ruin my rhythm. Auto mod does not like the word wood. It thinks smash the wood is an inherently sexual phrase. I hate to tell you this, auto mod, but lumberjacks exist. I'm one short from winning that, but you know what? Again, we know we beat her last time. Oh, I remember this one. We have to tap it when the dot goes through the center of the circle. And each time we do it, the circle gets smaller. And the dot gets faster. Oh, that one was close. Is this the smallest the circle goes? No, it's not. Oh, some of these are getting awfully close. Oh god, this is... I hate this. This is getting really hard. But you know what? Still wiped the floor with them. I almost missed out on the bear hat. We almost lost out on the bear hat. That would have been unacceptable. Right. I can't even walk over the line before. It's nothing. Yes, I will join your team. And we will give Gelrod a little bit of the deja vu. There we go. We at least got to beat Gelrod twice. Because he's a sore loser. That was fun. Time to go back. No, the time has come. To don we now our bear apparel. We are the champions. Wow, we got some chutney for winning. I need wildflowers for that. What we want is bear. You have shoes, boots, sandals, or pausable. You know what? Let's bind the harvest yield thing as well. Gives us a bit of extra chance to harvest more things. Oh, it is late, but let's have a look to see if there's other wildflowers growing. Because obviously we've got the citronella. We've also got some of that still in the chest we've got at home as well. We've got 3 of that, and we've just picked 1. I mean, technically, I could probably buy some from Healer Woman. We do actually have the spare space. Can I get to... I think it grew by the pond down... Well, the... Not pond, the small puddle that was down here. There was some mint. How have I gone? I can't have gone past that thing. Because this is looking very different to what I'm used to. And I don't recognize... Am I not too far? Yes, there we are. There it is. And whilst we're here, since we have just enough time left, Grab some more sunflower seeds. Also, baobab. No, there is no saber tooth. At least they've not found any saber teeth yet. There are mammoths. And there are giant pigs. Ooh, 1,200, and most of that came from the fermented fish. And I just noticed that I'd put the citronella in there, hadn't I? Damn it. Never mind. We can find more. We can find more wildflowers. Let's put the citronella in and put the mint in. We'll remember that. $152 stamina. That is not bad for chutney. Need to learn how to make that. That's going to be a... I would have thought that would have been... Oh, no, it'd be fermented, wouldn't it? The fermented vegetables. Oh, yeah, I forgot that's what I'd been doing a bit of last time. I'd been trying to, like, set up an actual, like, ordered farm rather than the jumble we have in the Northfield. Might as well grab the tomato seeds. We're not going to need them, but we might as well. Yay! The anvil is upgraded, so we can finally upgrade copper tools. But yeah, your idea is any 10 wildflower. Are there any more citronellas that have grown down here? No. The mint won't have refreshed yet, it's only been a day. I don't think there's any down at the jungle. I don't think the wood has any either. Have I walked? I have walked past Acre again. Although saying that, Kroll, come here. No, not, no, come back here. Build. Animal shed. Build. Wait, I was planning on building them up here, wasn't I? I was going to build one there, and I was going to build another one next to it, because we're going to turn the upper field into the place where all of our... Like, this side, I think from, like, here onwards, I was going to fence off and turn into paddock for animals. And then we have trees. I was probably going to put some more trees down here. And also, possibly I'll put the beehive up there as well. Because what good is having a fermenter if you don't have honey to make mead? Right, tools. Hoe. But we need more wood for the hoe. Oh, and a watering can. That water up to 6 at a time. Wonderful. But first of all, I want the sickle. Because the next thing that's being held back from us in the cave is being able to cut down some really thick weeds. And so I think that the thing that's going to let us get through that is a better sickle. Oh no, Ibex has caught a cold. Possibly because there's shit in the pen. No, I just didn't hear it from last time, I guess. Think what? Cold medicine, any cold herb. A datura flower. Datura is meant to... I think, if I remember right, datura is one of those, like, kind of hallucinogenic plants. I'm not sure why it's down as something to help you with the cold. But I suppose we go and find Ada. She never steers us wrong. There you are. I need drugs. Do you know what? I do believe I probably did not have the room for all of that. But so lavender and citronella both are stuff for weeds. Let's go turn the milk into yogurt. I assume that's going to get the best thing out of it. Need an oil. Did I actually save any oils, or do I need to wait until I have some? Nope, it's fine. We have beans. Oh, we also have sesame oil. That helps. Store the bones, store the salad. Take out an oil. Make a cold medicine. And put that back. And also, whilst I'm thinking about it, should probably actually make a couple of extra chests, because we literally only have one because we never really, like, cared. But we're probably going to want to be a little bit sensible with how we store stuff. I'm going to keep the datura flower. Actually, did we need anything else for any 7 what? Okay, so one of the things that we have here that says it's a stack of 4 doesn't count as wildflowers. So fine. And that's still not going to be enough. Let's take everything with us. Okay, that is enough. Whatever it was that I've picked up was good enough. We also wanted the hardwood, which we are not going to have enough of because we just used most of the hardwood for the sickle. And no jokes about hardwood. I know what some of you are like. The bear hat is a perfect fit. If it didn't fit me, it would have been unbearable. And unwearable. Right, Reese, you were here. Where have you gone, Reese? Why are you in the forest, Reese? I see they're making the pond for the wolves. I'm not sure why the wolves need a pond when there's a massive fucking river, but you know. I'll never deny the doggo's comfort. Reese, are you Bob Rossing out here? Hardwood and flour, go! Day to sort of plan and see what we should include. Thanks for your help, Bato. Reese, I don't know if I should tell you this, but I was the one that made the terrifying painting on the wall in the cavern. You know that festival we had where you were all drawing like really like nice pretty things? I'm the one that drew the horrific monster in the red forest. You should not give me the opportunity to art. I don't think we can actually go and visit that place when it isn't the sort of the ceremony, the painting ceremony, because that is as part of the tabletop RPG that has kind of lost a bit of steam. We'd created the Longlegs naturally, giant monster, evil, lives in the forest, and me being me, got bored, and as I was doing the stuff, I turned it into a monstrosity cave painting. Because it's the kind of thing that technically you could make with the primitive pigments that have been used in terms of colours on cave paintings. Red and black are both ones that would work. We have access to both of those as pigments for cave painting. And so theoretically, the monstrosity that I made would have been plausible if we had some slightly more artistically minded ancestors. It would have terrified most of them. But that's not my problem. I do like some of the weird theories about cave paintings, though. There are some that it looks like there's one body that they've painted, and then there's multiple heads in different positions. And one theory that I've seen is that it was meant to be an early animation. Whether it's this is the kind of movement this creature can make. So rather than it being animated, it's more just showing the range of motion that an animal can do. But there's also like a theory that since obviously everyone would have been using firelight, when the fire flickers, it could possibly, depending on the shadows, kind of. Hang on, let me. Because luckily, I have way too many things open. Let's go to art for a moment. Welcome to my face. Cheery jump scare. Let's give it just a... Like the way that they got it, it'd be like, so like you'd have like the thicker. You'd have like the body that they'd have painted on, but then they'd have like done like one head, but then they'd have also drawn another head and another head, so it looks like it's like the range of motion that these animals can do. And the theory is obviously one of them could just be it's just showing you, you know, that this is what it looks like if it's aimed up. This is what it looks like, and blah blah blah. But there's also the thing that because firelight flickers, that depending on how the firelight was flickering, it could technically illuminate different parts of the drawing. And so it could, like I say, depending on how the firelight flickered, it could make it look like the drawing was moving. I mean, they could have seen Cerberus, but for the ones that I've seen, most of them seem to be cattle. But it could be a way of teaching that this is how they eat. With cow breath. Meh. Okay, so yeah, it could literally have just been like an anatomical drawing of, you know, this is, well, not so much anatomical, but this is how the behaviors do. You know, this is what they do for eating. Like, they eat from the ground. So it might have been a very basic way of, like, passing on the information. You know, if you see an animal that looks like this, it will eat from the ground. It is a herbivore. It won't eat you. It's eating from the ground. It could be something as simple as that. It was like an early way of teaching the next generation. But it's just one of those things that, I mean, Ginger was mentioning it in Woolly's chat, I think yesterday, that there's a bunch of random things that we are never going to know. Because everyone that knew it died. So we can make theories on stuff. Like Ginger was saying how, you know, we still technically don't know how we made the pyramids. There's like two main theories on it. One of them being that we built it, you know, that it was built from the ground up. And that, you know, they built the first layer, made some ramps, made this next layer, and so on, and then went from the top down, putting the outside layer on to smooth it off, because it was like covered in limestone, I think, but the inside is sandstone. And that is how it's shown on the Pharaoh of, you know, the old like strategy game. That's how they put it forward in that. But the other option is that they built a massive mound and then worked downwards, which in my head doesn't make any sense, but you know, it's another theory. But that's one thing it never was. It was never aliens. Because the one thing that people forget about that is how racist the "it was aliens" meme is. It's basically a bunch of white people saying that the primitives could never have done this. Which is obviously bullshit, because they did it. So saying it was aliens is basically just a bunch of like old white people saying we don't believe that these people were smart enough to do it. So it must have been either aliens or some hitherto unknown tribe of white people. That seems to be where this all started from. Is that just the disbelief that Egyptians could have done it, or the Incans could have made their pyramids. With the working upwards seems plausible. There's also like the working downwards. I can kind of see if it was like a hollow structure, because essentially you could build a dirt mound, build the pyramid around the outside, and then remove the dirt from the inside, and then you have a pyramid that, you know, was built up. Kind of works. But in the same way that, you know, we don't know that. We technically don't know how they moved the Moai statues, the Easter Island heads. But there have been a couple of, like, theories that have been put into practice. Obviously, the reason why there's no logs left there's no trees, I don't think, on the island anymore. Which I think is mainly one of the plausible options, was they've cut them all down to use them as rollers to move the heads around. But the other option was a really weird one that they actually put into practice, which was making the statues walk. And if you've ever watched the video, it's so surreal, because there's just this giant stone head with like 4 ropes attached to the top of it. And essentially, it's 4 people holding onto these 4 ropes. The 2 at the back kind of pull backwards to kind of like give it like a certain sort of center of gravity. The 2 at the front hold to kind of like stop it falling backwards. And then the 2 at the back alternate how strongly they pull to make it kind of like wobble and pivot from side to side. And it looks really weird, but it's like technically possible they could have done this. The problem is we are never gonna fucking know, unless someone comes along and says, oh yes, time travel is real, we have got a time machine. It's one of those things that we are simply just not going to be able to figure out. Some stuff, like how we made flint tools, we can figure that out, because we have tools and we can see the marks made, and therefore we can work out what was done to make the tool. It obviously took, you know, some archaeologist people a long time practicing to try and find out how these things were done. But we have worked it out. We have kind of like reverse engineered Paleolithic tools. as silly as it sounds to reverse engineer something from like 10,000 years ago. But yeah, there were those things like the pyramids that we're just not going to know. I think the other one that Ginger mentioned was Greek fire. We know it was written down that Greek fire was a thing. And it made fire, and it was a weapon. That is all that we know. It was likely a chemical formula. But because the ancient Greeks are all dead, we have no idea. Yeah, it was essentially ancient Greek napalm. We just don't know how they did it. And there were also those like really fun, weird things that we find, like the Antikythera mechanism. That I think archaeologists as a whole have kind of settled on it being some kind of way of tracking the stars as a navigation device. Just like a really fancy version of a compass, but one that can change, like because with the compass, obviously it does it via magnetics. But if they were unaware of magnetism back then, and so they didn't know that north and south were like properly a thing, I don't know if they did or not. They probably did. They were fairly smart back then. But if they're navigating by the stars on a boat, because obviously compasses aren't great with boats, because they need to kind of be stationary to do their job, especially old ones. So it's the reason why compasses weren't used on ships, even when we'd made them. We were like, no, we'll probably need a better way of doing it, until we'd like figure the gyroscope thing out that we have now. But so yeah, the whole like going by the stars makes sense, and because the stars change through the year, it would make sense to have a device that you could like go, oh well, we know we're in this month, so you just like move certain bits around and change the month it's in, and oh okay, so the stars are going to be roughly this position. We can now know which way is which. It makes sense. For all we know, it could be a very early puzzle box or something, and we just haven't figured it out, because the problem was the only one we found was extremely fucking rusty, because it had been on the bottom of the ocean for like 2,000 years. And so chances are it wasn't quite up to scratch in terms of being the sort of best quality it could have been. So unless we just happen to find one that's in working condition and not extremely rusty and extremely worn down, we're probably going to never know what that thing was really for and how good it was. And obviously we have stuff like Stonehenge that has the exact same problem. We can theorize about it. Yeah, it could have been a weird celestial calendar. It could have been used as the joke that I've seen quite frequently. And unfortunately, I've actually seen it in practice when watching Time Team a lot. There's one guy, one of the experts on Time Team, pretty much anything they find, he says it's ritual. And that's usually archaeology speak for we have no fucking idea. Because technically, brushing your teeth is a ritual. So if you know if you got buried with a toothbrush and then they found you in 2000 years, technically that is a ritual implement that they found you buried with. The problem is that when most people think ritual, they think, you know, worship and stuff like that, but unfortunately that is probably not the case for the most part. Yeah, at least with some stuff, we know about it from the fact that it was written about. Like Greek fire. And like was it the statue of Alexander? Or was it Alexander? I think it was. The massive, like, bronze statue that was apparently made at some point. That then vanished. Although I think I think that's meant to have been like they've kind of found the location it was meant to be. It's just obviously not there. Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. It could have been like the most accurate celestial thing, celestial clock in the world ever. And we wouldn't know because, the one that we've got doesn't work properly because it's all weathered away and broken. Let me get that stretch. I think that's one thing from like all the stuff that I've, because obviously I get bored a lot, and so I watch a lot of random YouTube of varying subjects. And one of them is archaeology stuff because it is interesting, even if I have no idea what the hell it's all about. And one of the things does seem to be that every single sort of like new sort of like generation, or I don't know if generation's really the right word, but more like sort of like each era tends to view all of the others as beneath them. Which is the reason why things like that whole, it must be aliens because obviously people in the past weren't smart enough to do this themselves thing is a thing. But yeah, it does seem like things like the Victorians saw everything else before them as intellectually inferior, even if it was incredibly good. Apart from like for some reason the Greek stuff, they saw them as like extremely amazing and civilized and everything, and the Romans. Right, we have 5 stargazers. That is enough to make 5 fermented stargazers, which is like a ridiculous amount of. Oh no, we passed out before we managed to get a chance to do it. Damn it, so close. Fall asleep in the fields. Oh god, where was I now? I've forgotten. Oh yeah. the whole like seeing everything before us as being stupider than we are. The only reason, I mean, technically, in terms of knowledge, yes, they didn't have as much of it. It's like, if you went back in time 2,000 years, would, you know, the random dude on the corner of the street know basic science? Maybe. But they wouldn't know to the level of basic science that we have today. Likewise, going back, you know, you'd find, yeah, there'd be a lot of people that might know things, but they would know enough that would make them well known in it for back then. So you could be like really good at knowing what plants cured certain illnesses. Yeah, you could be an amazing herbalist, but you were not, because we hadn't understood chemicals and stuff back then. You wouldn't know why it was good at it. You would just know that that plant over there makes your headache go away. That plant over there stops diarrhea. If you chew on the root, it stops diarrhea. If you eat the flower of that, it stops your headache, and so on. You wouldn't know that, you know, that root contained some random chemical that, you know, interferes with the digestive tract that slows it down and thus cures diarrhea, because no one knew it. But still, if you look back compared to everyone else, knowing that it did it would have put you in the knowledgeable tier of people. And also, you have got to remember as well that I didn't have the fucking internet or books for the most part. Yeah, we can. I mean, I can personally say, because I have a book that's called Medicinal Plants of Britain, which is where I found out that fact earlier about the root turning bird bones red. We didn't have that 2,000 or further back, you know, 2,000 years or further back in time. If you knew that, you'd be like some like witch doctor that's like knows these weird things. You'd be like some like, at that point you'd probably end up, you know, if you knew that much about random plants, you'd be like the tribe's herbal person, the tribe's doctor. Yeah, it's one of those weird things. I know I haven't like shut up about it, but it annoys me a bit that we just in general tend to look back and go, well, they were bloody stupid, weren't they? Well, that's the thing. They wouldn't. If you think of it back then, they didn't even understand mutation and subspecies and stuff. We hadn't even figured out how this stuff was working. Yeah, this was before Mendel did his experiments on pea plants, and before Darwin had come along and figured it all out. Back then, it was literally, I saw a bird eating this root, and when I killed it, the bones are red. But when I killed this other one that I never saw eat that root, the bones were not red. Is it that that one specific thing caused this? Maybe, maybe not. that we wouldn't have known. These days, we probably do know because we've probably got some scientific paper on it. But in the book that I have got that thing came from, it's like it looks like it's a self-published book. You know, he sells a bunch of stuff on Amazon. He sells a bunch of stuff on his own website, but he's been doing it for a while. But all the things he's mentioning in there, like he'll say this plant does this. He cites scientific papers telling you about these things. So that if you want to learn more, you can go and look at the actual information that someone has gone and done a study saying that this plant does this. But obviously, again, back then, if you did find it out, chances are you might be one of the only people in the world that knew it. Until you told someone else. Yeah, the whole thing of like willow bark. Chewing on willow bark helps your headache. Now, back then, they wouldn't have known. They would have just gone, well, yeah, chewing on the bark makes the pain in the head go away. You know, they might have, depending on where they were located, they might have said, it's because of the spirit of the tree is helping you. Or just some other weird healing property of the tree. Whereas these days, we know that it is a form of... Hang on, what's the chemical? Salicylic acid. That's the one. And salicylic acid is what makes salicylates. And salicylates are a form of aspirin. Therefore, we know now the reason why the willow bark, chewing on it, makes your headache go away is because it's got some primitive aspirin in it that's naturally formed. Boom. Knowledge. And it's not just like willow bark. Things like wintergreen is a salicylic acid. So there's like multiple things that we know now have these same compounds in, and we know cure headaches. Back then, it would have just been a random thing that someone would have figured out and gone, oh yeah, if you do this with this plant, if you boil the bark of this tree in some water and you drink it, it makes your headache go away, or makes your stomach, not hurt, or something like, because it's a primitive painkiller. But again, I wouldn't know this if I didn't have access to books and the internet. So, if we were back 4,000, 5,000 years ago, unless I just happened to be either the person who was in charge of the sort of tribe's health, or the person being trained to take over from that person, chances are I wouldn't know. Or maybe if I was the person tasked with gathering it, and they say, find this type of tree, we want the bark because we use it for such and such. I'd be like, oh, okay, I can find that tree. And I would question it, and I would question no further. I'd be like, is this the right kind of tree? Yes. That is good enough for me. My job here is done. I mean, I know that I have memed on it in the past about, the whole thing about me wanting to learn some of these really old skills just in case zombies turn up. The zombies part being the meme. I would still actually like to learn them just because it's one of those weirdly fascinating things that, we've been around for as we are now, for 13,000 years, give or take? And at some point, we didn't know how to build stone houses. We knew how to make houses out of sticks and twigs, and that's about it. And then at some point we're like, oh yeah, stone's pretty sturdy. If we put it down like this, we can make that into a house. And then roll on to now, it's like, oh yeah, we can make stone in the form that we want. We can make concrete, which is rock, but we can tell it what shape to be by making a mold. And then we learned, like, oh yeah, we can also stick this massive like rod of metal in it to make it stronger. It's like slow incrementations on technology. And when you think back, this all started from like extremely primitive dwellings like this that would have literally been a bunch of sticks and then some furs draped over the top. And then some straw shoved on top once we got to the point of like being able to grow crops and we settled in place longer. But obviously, as we went from being less nomadic to being more settled for domesticate, so we could domesticate crops and grow crops, we naturally then started making more permanent shelters. But it's still fascinating when you look back. I mean, there's a couple of YouTube things that I follow. One of them is some guy that like he makes tools out of rock. And so I've seen him like making like flint axes and flint knives and knives out of obsidian and stuff like this, and he shows you how he does it, and it's just fascinating to watch a man use his hands and some tools to turn a rock into a knife. There's also one, I wish I remembered the guy's name because I would totally recommend it. He looks like he belongs in the Stone Age as well because he has a mighty beard, I tell you that. But there's also a woman I watch called Sally Pointer who has a bunch of stuff on there. I think a lot of what she does is like experimental English, like old English architecture. Not architecture, archaeology. But experimental archaeology is the whole thing of like, we think this was how it's done, let's try it and see. And so a bunch of what this Sally Pointer does on her channel is she does like some like the old crafts. Like one of the earliest fabrics apparently was made from stinging nettles. And so you just basically you take a huge amount of stinging nettles, and we all know just how fast those things grow and how there's loads of them. You just grab a bunch, dump them in some hot water for like 10 minutes, boil them up. Boiling them up kills off all the stinging cells, so they can't sting you. You get them out of the water, you let them dry a bit, then you beat the living daylights out of them. And break the fibers apart, because nettles apparently are full of, stems are full of fiber. So you bash them apart, you take the fibers apart, and then you can weave with those fibers. You can turn them into string, and then you can use that string to turn into primitive bags and clothing and cloth and all these other things just from nettles. And it seems weird, but that's exactly what flax is. And linen. They're both from... Yeah, we turn flax into fabrics. But that's the thing, I mean, when you think about it, back then, they probably didn't care so much. You'd probably be more worried about it having a rash than anything. You know, if you didn't boil your nettles quite enough, maybe, you know, you might get a you know, catch it by accident, but chances are you're going to have boiled them enough. You know, you're going to know, you're going to have, you know, been taught how to do it properly. And apparently it was like still like a cottage industry that was still done up like even like a couple of 100 years ago. Which again is one of those things that's just like really weird to think about, because it was like it was still technically before the before we like properly industrialized. So we didn't have access to all, you know, the mass manufactured cottons that made cotton clothing cheap. And so, you know, if you were a poor family in the middle of like middle of England, you wouldn't necessarily have had enough money to go and buy some clothes made of cloth, because that would have been expensive. Because, you know, at that point, cloth would have had to have all been hand woven, and so it wasn't going to be cheap to do that. Because it was, you know, if it was going to take someone time to weave it, you're going to have to pay for all of that time. And you know, obviously before the industrialization and, you know, the spinning jenny and all those various devices that they started using to spin threads and weave cloth in the home and then in factories. But so yeah, if you were a poor family, you weren't going to like go off to the nearest Primark and buy a shirt for £5. You were probably going to have to make it yourself. Because you just, unless it was like a really fancy, like for a really like special occasion, you probably wouldn't want to spend money on it. And that would be, you know, the point where you're like, oh yeah, the bottom of the farm, there's a load of nettles. Yeah, we could just go and grab a bunch of those and, you know, spend an afternoon, you know, boil them all up, make them into fibers, dry the fibers out, keep them stored if ever we need them. Perfectly fine. We can just grab a bunch, weave them, do whatever we want. And then obviously, of course, people would have had access to sheep. Not our sheeper, of course. But so most things would have been either made from wool for warm stuff or nettle for cooler stuff. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm old myself. I don't know. It could be, or it could just be that it is an interesting subject, or I could just be a raging nerd, or a dork, or whatever term of, you know, silliness you want to apply to me. Because remember as well back then, what you probably would have had is there would have been a bunch of skills that you just naturally got taught. Yeah, you would have been taught to do whatever you needed to do to get by in life. Yeah, these days it's you get taught how to do basic maths to go down the shop and buy some stuff from Greg's. But yeah, back then it would have been, you know, you get taught the stereotypical things that you would do for whatever, you know, what gender you popped out as, or what gender you were assigned, or whatever. Yeah, if you were a boy, you would have been shown how your father did stuff with the fields and how to tend the animals and all these things. If you were a girl, you would have been shown how to knit and do all the house stuff. Because that is just what was done. Yeah, which, that's the thing, compared to now, it's a specialized society. Back then, chances are everyone in the village would have known how to make basic clothing and do like various like basic chores around, to get stuff sorted. They'd have known like basic recipes to make cleaning supplies and stuff like that based on like what would have been around. Like, I know that one of the things that I watched a while ago is called Victorian Farm, and it showed like the general things that would be done by a relatively poor farmstead. And it's things like when you went for a piss, you wouldn't pee the same place you shat. So you'd have your like outhouse bit, which you would shit into. You would also have a bucket, which you would piss into. And that is because both of those things can be used for different purposes. Obviously, the poop, you take the poop, you mix it with stuff, you can use it for fertilizer. The pee, if you leave it for long enough, starts turning into bleach, which you can use as a cleaning supply. As weird as it sounds to use piss as a cleaning supply, it's got urea in it, which when it starts breaking down, can help clean. I don't know if they did anything else to it, but they could use it for like basic cleaning stuff outside of they wouldn't use it for like obviously cleaning stuff in the house or whatever, but it was like it could be used as a disinfectant for, say, if one of your animal's feet got a little bit of infection, you could probably wash it in some other stuff and it would help kill whatever was trying to, infect the animal. Or to wash the outhouse. And all these things where it wouldn't make much of a, the smell wouldn't have been a problem because it wasn't indoors. Whereas now it all goes down the same hole and then we press the button, it gets sent down a pipe to God knows where a bunch of people that know chemistry pour ingredients into giant vats to neutralize the bad things, and then they pump the water back into the drinking supply. But it is one of those. It's one of those weird things, and I've said that just weird. The fact that it's weird things multiple times, way too many times this stream. But everyone's always like, when you go back in time, you would show them like certain things, and yet there are some things that imagine taking a cigarette lighter back in time. Look, I can make fire this easily. At least until the liquid runs out, and then it's kind of worthless. We can just keep making a spark. But you can make a spark to make fire anyway. This is just like an easy way of doing it. But that's like kind of basic because they already knew how to make fire. This is just an easier way of doing it. And then there are some things that, they just wouldn't understand. Moving pictures on a screen First of all, what is a screen? They don't know what it is. Oh, it's a piece of glass that has lights in it. What's glass? Or if they do have, if they know what glass is, they might be used to their glass, which is like really weird and not flat. Kind of like thicker at the bottom than it is at the top, and they wouldn't be able to like picture like a see-through thing with lights inside showing you an image like what's happening on your screen right now. They just wouldn't understand it. So yeah, you could tell them about it, but you might as well go just make shit up, because that's going to be as just as useful to them. But could you imagine going back and like teaching them, oh yeah, by the way, we've learnt about this thing called a pipe, that you can put things in one end and it comes out the other end. It's like a very, very basic, to us, would seem really basic. Especially like if you have access to things like bamboo. It's like bamboo piping is still used in places because it's easy to make and easily replaced, and it's renewable. But if you could go back in time and go, oh yeah, by the way, did you realise that, if you cut this in half, take out these bits in the middle, like between the sections, and then kind of put it like so that one end of it is higher than the other, and you pour water on one end of it, it goes all the way to the other. At one point, that was new information to people. Or just the knowledge that, oh yeah, by the way, did you know that if you dig a trench, you can make the water from the river come to you? So rather than you having to go to the river, you can make the river come to you. It takes a lot of work, but it's a thing that you can do. Oh, and a bunch of our crops are going to be dead now. We've rolled over to fall. Yay, we don't have to actually do any thingy watering today. Let's see, let's get rid of all the plants that we don't... Wow, most of the plants that we had apparently were not fall compatible. Essentially, it's just like one thing of beans. Butternut squash, the chilies, the one thing of garbanzo, well, 3 things of garbanzo beans. Yeah, we really don't have much there. And of that, these fields down here, most of these are probably going to be, yep. 2 of these completely pointless as well. Game. I say, it just would be interesting to like go back with some of like the really basic knowledge that is actually stuff that would be useful, and see how that would be reacted to. Yeah, none of this taking fancy technology and going, look at my smartphone, because it's gonna run out of battery, and within a day's time, it's just a useless brick. Here's the new tool. We have a copper sickle. What do we need for the next ones? 25 copper and 40 copper. I don't think we have enough for either of those. I think we only had like 15 copper left. Oh, and here's Etsy with his trying to make me healthy. Yeah, we only have 15 copper, so we can't actually make anything else. But we do have the bit for the next Ooh, and we can milk both of these again. Get our ibex milk, and we might. Ooh, about a ooh, that is actually way higher than I thought. The maybe it's because I ride the piggy, and he's a mount, so maybe he's maybe that kind of gives more. Maybe that kind of gives more friendship points or something. Yeah, spending time with them. Not sure. But yeah, before I forget, let's do the stretch. Posture check is fine. And I'll do a chug a drink. Drinker's drunked. But you are in that hut. And Reese, you are in that hut. So let's go to that one and then go up to the other guy. So Reese is in this one. An art station is the perfect place to gather. Then I can teach everyone to paint. It with some new decorations. Just one thing, where we should we build it? Anywhere, mate. Anywhere works. It doesn't matter. Sundial has been a big help. After thinking, what if we had a centralized way to track the days for the whole year? We'd never miss a birthday again. Stone and flint. It's funny, we've developed the sundial before we developed the calendar. The Tora flower, we can just pick them from here? I wonder if it's a seasonal one. Do we want that? Oh, yes, we do have flint. But speaking of weird archaeology things from earlier, the whole calendar thing, I saw something from... It was a couple of weeks ago now, I think I first... Or maybe a month or so ago. That apparently, like, they found a bone with 28 sort of etchings on there, like markings. And at one point, someone was like, "Oh, it's an early version of a calendar." And then someone made the comment about, well, why would you need to measure out 28 days? And this person was like, what if it wasn't man's first attempt at a calendar? What if it was woman's first attempt and it was to do with tracking menstruation? Because that's the only real thing that is 28 days. I mean, it could have, yeah, it could have been a lunar calendar. Or it could have been a menstruation calendar. But again, it's another of those like odd things that because we have so many set things in our head about this is our world, that a lot of the people that are in charge are only thinking like from one half of humanity's perspective. So, you know, the problem with a lot of archaeology from that is that we all have bias. Yeah, there's the big joke about, you know, archaeologists, you know, they find two skeletons embraced and they're like, oh my god, they're wonderful, they must be lovers, they're wonderful, you know, blah blah blah, and all these things. And then the archaeologists find out, no, they're both male skeletons, or at least believed to be male skeletons. At which point they quickly roll back and say, no, they must be brothers, because there's no other reason why two male skeletons would be buried in an embrace like this. They must be family. Totally not, you know, signs of being, you know, gay people being in the past. And like, there's even like things from archaeologists have like said stuff like, you know, most skeletons that get found, it's best guess. Because the problem with it is that a lot of the things that we think about aren't necessarily always the case. Yeah, people say, you know, that, you know, male skeletons have got, you know, a certain type of jawline. So, well, that's wonderful, but have you ever seen the face of a femboy? They don't have a massive, rugged jawline. They're a fucking femboy. Which means that their skeleton is not going to look like a male skeleton if you just go by the shape of the jaw. Likewise, there are going to be people out there that just have really wide hips for some reason. If they were dug up, they'd be like, oh, that's a woman, if you go by the hips. But, well, not necessarily, because some men have really wide hips. And a lot of the reasonings behind it is things like, yeah, when they look at it, they look at what is buried with a person and then make the guess based on that. You know, if you are buried with a sword, they will assume you were a warrior because there's a sword in your grave. And unless that has something to do with your life, the chances are you wouldn't have been buried with it. And so, you know, a lot of it is, you know, it's based on the grave goods that they find alongside you. The problem is that sometimes they find contradicting evidence of grave goods. You know, they might find, you know, things like hairpins and that might normally be seen for feminine hair in the same grave as a sword or brooches. It's like, well, what does that indicate then? Yay, we have got to the next place. That was all we needed to do. We just needed that copper sickle to get through that grass. Yeah, I do like that, like, so much of archaeology comes down to We don't actually know. We are just making an educated fucking guess. Of course you just heard femboy, because you are one, Izzy. Yeah, we've had some like random conversations regarding archaeology and stuff over the past like hour. Oh, I'm sorry, Izzy. Have you forgotten that you're a femboy? I mean, do I need to like remind you? Just go and look in your closet to the maid's outfit and thigh highs. Oh yeah, sorry, programmer sucks. Problem is, I don't think Izzy's a programmer, so kind of rules that out as an option. So I think they might actually just be thigh highs. Yeah, it is suspicious, isn't it? Ooh, we found gold. There was gold in these them hills. Yeah, compression sucks. Sure, Izzy, sure. I totally believe you. I like how I found gold and silver and I don't actually care because it's not a material for tools. If I cannot use you to upgrade my rock smashing ability, I cannot. Whoa! Whatever the hell that was that I just ate just refilled us entirely. Oh, I should actually stop streaming now because unfortunately my 2 weeks are over. My 2 weeks off are done. So I'm back to work tomorrow. To once again get stressed and realize I really do not like that job. I need to, you know. No, according to my clock, it's 6 minutes past midnight. Hang on, what is this nonsense? Is this some kind of place I can't get to yet? I won't do at all. I've at least got to finish the day so we can save. Oh, I don't aim for a length of time, Ezzy. You know that. I tend to try and go until midnight. Oh god, it's one of these caverns. Wait, hang on. I can't even sneak around. How the hell am I meant to do anything with this? I can even see that there's a torch to light there. So does that mean this is another shortcut? And I need to go from the other side. I have to light that thing first, and then I can get through from the other side. Oh well. Just fall asleep in the cave, as we do. And we have saved. Ah, we can finally upgrade things, can we? Increase the power of our accessories using gold or silver. Come see me when you want to upgrade. So that's what the gold and silver's for. Okay. Because we do have our accessories. Our gathering harvest yield and our max stamina bonuses. Ooh. Oh, it's from that. +1 plant growth speed. The things grow slightly faster because of one of the things we're wearing. And we get slightly more wood, chance of slightly more wood from the other one. But yeah, now that we've actually got the day finished and it is saved, we can call it there. Let's have a look. Is there anyone online to send people to? Let's refresh to make sure. Oh, of course, Sheeper's doing his 24-hour monster stream to try and fix his insomnia. You know, go to Sheeper and keep him company. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching. As always, it's been fun. We've had some weird conversations today about the past. And we've managed to get some progress done in the game as well. So, also, as always, thank you everyone for watching, and I'll send you off to Sheeper and have fun. Bye-bye.